Wilbert Cook at Hand Up Recovery Homes. I'm back live with a young fella, Michael Parr, who I met a few weeks ago, and he's been working with another friend of mine doing a lot of stuff, you know, helping with campaigns, helping with public policy, helping with development of youth organizations, helping developing a stronger black man's presence on the west side and across the city, the 7th Congressional District in particular, and all that area. Which a gentleman, Willie Burton, who was here a year ago, about 9 months ago on the show with us, talking about different youth activities and other things they were doing. So without further ado, I'll let Michael Parr give a little more of his resume, since I didn't ask him to present one to me today.
Okay, he already told you all my name. I want to work on helping a lot of the kids, but not also the kids, the parents. What I'm trying to work on is making sure that kids and the parents aren't going through a lot of trauma, because a lot of kids and parents are dealing with trauma, mental trauma and past things, and they put it off on their kids. So I want to be able to figure out ways to help them deal with a lot of stuff they're going through. And the way I'm going to do that is having a center to help them out. A lot of people don't think about like what their parents are going through and how that affects the children when they go to school. So a lot of kids, the first thing they do, they want to put them on meds and stuff because they're dealing with a lot of stuff and they don't know. And it's not just from having ADHD or having a problem focusing. It's from home trauma, things that the parents are dealing with, the way how they talk to their kids, from things they were used to when they were younger, how their parents yelling at them or somewhat abusing them, and then they think it's okay to do it with the next generation. I want to put a stop to that.
Good point, Mike, and I feel you on that. Matter of fact, our youth and children handles a church service yesterday, and John Williams, a frat brother of mine, also a church member who works with the youth, he reminded people in his prayer that we have to approach these children as it is in 2000, 2010, 2020, and now 2026, trauma and experiences they're going through. We cannot approach them based on how things were handled 1970s, 1980s, or even some of our elders, 1960. You can't yell at a kid like that when they were at the point you yell, don't feel you have a reason or don't know why.
Yeah.
You assume they know not to run up the church steps or the school steps. Those of us who work in the schools that are spiritual people.
Yeah.
But they've been in a house where they have not been given boundaries.
Yeah.
Because of all the other activities, good or bad, different for sure,
Yeah.
and lacking discipline in many cases.
Yeah.
But now we want the kid to come to school and all of a sudden know how to behave the way traditionally we've managed households the last 20, 30 years. No, he didn't come from our household. He came from that household, unfortunately, Robin Harris, God bless his soul, named Bebe's kid's house.
Yeah.
You know, for better or worse, the term is with us, and I hate that people in education picked up the term. It's one thing to have it out in the neighborhood, laughing, joking, or talking about how bad somebody's kids is, but it was horrible in the education institution where teachers start to say those are baby kids. Because when we grew up, we were their kids as long as we were in their class. Matter of fact, we were their kids long as we stayed in that school. Even if we changed grades to another teacher, our previous teachers always claimed us. At least that's how it was working in most schools and most of the neighborhoods back in the 70s and 80s and into the early 90s. You were those teachers at that school's children until you left that school, and they really would claim you indefinitely if they taught you. Yeah. Where now it's like they put a disclaimer on kids.
Yeah.
And that's trauma. You know, when your teacher no longer sees you as that kid of theirs in that classroom, but as some kid that's struggling to deal with societal struggles. That's the result of adults' bad decisions or indecision or lack of discipline or structure that they pass on to the children. Yeah. You know, and so I understand a lot of what you're starting to say, but let me let you go back to say it in your way, because sometimes me as the older adult say things that now they understand, but the parents of your age and a slightly older or younger need to hear it more from how you relay it. And you might even want to do a little poetry, spoken words. You might want to drop a line from a song here or there. Yeah. I may or may not know, but they'll know how you relating to them and talking to them. Yeah. Go right ahead and drop some more mental health gems.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about Juice WRLD situation, that might be a good time to bring it up.
Yeah. A lot of kids nowadays, they are able to connect with music. So I want to deal with that with kids, but also, like, when I was going back to saying the parents, that's the first thing I want to focus on, because at the end of the day, they can get all the help in the world, but they got to go home back to mom and dad.
Right.
So we have to figure out what is the main cause of the problem, not just, oh yeah, we figuring this out with medication. And medication is sometimes even worse than what they're going through. Yeah, sometimes medication is worse than what they're going through. And medication isn't always needed. More love is sometimes needed, more conversation, but not just talking at. And a lot of parents like to talk at the kids or try to be a friend. That's not what a kid needs.
Okay.
Need to be a parent. And a lot of parents are scared of their kids because of I don't want to get locked up. But it's okay to be stern, but it's how you do certain things.
Good point. Yeah, the same discipline doesn't work either. You can't even snatch a kid in the collar now without it being considered, possibly litigated, and criminalized. Yeah. But back in the day, that was like the least of our worries. We was glad when Mr. Holloway just janked us in the collar. Yeah. We glad he ain't bounced us off a wall or the floor, And they got away with some of that because it'd be like, you shouldn't have been running. Oh, well, you should have ran a little faster and you could have got the verbal correction. But since he caught you and you fell in the floor, because that's how they tell it. They ain't say they yanked you and dropped you. But anyway. It wasn't right then, but it was some discipline that was effective in some of the worst ways, but also in best ways. You realize if the people who cared about you trying to treat you right would sometimes treat you wrong, you knew when you got out in the real world, you couldn't expect better treatment. Yeah. When they told you, forget what the dust up I gave you, the world is going to beat you down if you don't learn how to navigate, follow instructions, follow directions, accept correction. You can go pouting and get your head knocked off in the streets. Yeah. Today especially, you might even get shot for pouting. Somebody be like, what you looking at me like? And you really just showing emotions, and they misread it as you acting like you gonna do something. Yeah. And you really just demonstrating frustration. Well, because of their limited ability to analyze the situation, but they actually carrying a gun and they willing to shoot at somebody. Yeah. You can catch a bullet over what used to just be acts and faces of frustration or faces of, I'm not going to take this, but they'll be like, before you hit me, I'll shoot you.
Yeah, and that comes from
And
lack
that's
of communication.
lack communication, not being taught communication skills, not being taught how to do conflict resolution, even on the basic level.
Yeah.
And or because they've been abused, extremely abused already. So now they mad at the world. Because I had a gentleman on, and he'll probably be back next season, that talked to us about he got beat and battered so much at home that he beat and battered everybody in his presence in the community. And most of this behavior I had associated with people, alcoholism, drug addiction, before I met him. This dude never was into drugs other than counting money. He was never into alcohol other than counting some side money.
Yeah.
He was always about money and getting the world back for how he felt mistreated at home and around his family. So he took all that frustration out on everybody he encountered that didn't do right by him or how he thought by him. And today, thank God, he's building houses, helping restructure other people's lives, trying to help people get over their anger problems in the penitentiary when they hit the street. I'm like, ooh, thank God for you changing.
Yeah.
But he was the first person I know that didn't have alcohol substance abuse problem, but his anger was way out of control. So it goes to show he busts the stereotype. In my mind, I'm sure hundreds of thousands of other people's mind. Sometimes you do not have to be caught up in drugs and alcohol to be a menace.
Yeah.
But, further, and you might want to elaborate some of what you see now as a younger man and how much those traumas affect people.
I want to be an example of, like, for me, I started to realize, like, a lot of things that my mom and dad would do, I was doing in my relationship. So I realized I want to make a change myself, but I also want to help other people to make a change, because they used to always fight and argue, and I found myself doing that with my significant other, and I'm like, this has to be stopped. Just when we have to put a stop to generational curses. That is a real thing. Like, we'll keep doing something. Even diabetes, that's a generational curse. Certain things we have to stop eating, or certain things we have to stop doing. And I want to focus on that because it starts with the parents, but it also is for the kids, because that's our future. The kids are our future.
I like to say they are present. Because a lot of the new reality is what they're dealing with now, and we're having to adjust to and or help them navigate.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. We just talked about it before we came in. Instagram are making some kids millionaires.
Yeah.
Because they're creative, because they can sing, because they funny already at 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Now, how does a parent that's been in poverty handle that situation? Do they further get abusive, disrespectful, try to we used to call checking the kid, talking down to him, belittling them? They actually becoming a millionaire at 9, 10, 11, and you belittle them because you don't have the concept of having that kind of money, and it's in your child's hands, and then you don't even, or it gets funneled to you because the child love you, and they haven't set up any structured business accounts because they so young, and the system allows them to accumulate some funds.
Yeah.
That then you mismanage it all. Like the old celebrities used to mismanage money for singers and rappers and actresses and actors that was kids. Now we got folks can possibly be mismanaging their kids. Or the athletes, NIL money.
Yeah.
So it's some different dynamics, but it only adds pressure when there's already pre-existing traumas.
Yeah.
And discipline issues and structure issues and a lack of boundaries between children and adults, teenagers, adults, young adults, and full-fledged parents and even grandparents sometimes don't act much better than the children and or their child that had their grandchild or their child. Yeah. And everybody is functioning practically at what we would consider teenage level.
Yeah.
Because of all the trauma and their emotions got stuck in a cycle and nobody's helped them grow out of it. You might want to elaborate a little more on your take on that.
Yeah. A lot of parents, I've noticed now, they are quick to give up now. Like, we just let you do anything. After a certain time, like my adopted parents, they was like, we tired of you. Just do whatever you gonna do, you do. But you can't do that.
Can you pause for a second and go back to your parents?
Yeah.
The people may need to hear what.
Yeah,
that
I
situation.
ended up in DCFS.
Okay, and how you come out of it, unlike some people get stuck in a cycle.
Yeah, I came out of it. I got help from Congressman Danny K. Davis, Mr. Willie Burton, and organization Habilitative Services. We were just talking about
Donald Duke
Mr. Donald Duke earlier. I decided to go and get help myself because I didn't want to keep going in the same rotation. I did prison time, but I had got back locked up for a gun case. It was good that I had won the case, but I realized I'm just doing the same thing my other family members was doing, just because I think it's okay and it's easy. It's easy to do wrong, but it takes time and commitment to really do right, because there's always going to be something that's going to try to throw you off. And people have to remember that also when they're raising a kid. You can't just give up. Like, oh yeah, I'm tired of you. Just do you. That's right. We have to make sure that stops happening. Because when we start doing that, the kids go. They don't know how to deal with their emotions. So the first thing they do is like, oh, I'm gonna kill you.
Okay.
I don't know how to talk to you, so I'm gonna get you out the way. I'm gonna get rid of you, so I don't have to talk to you no more.
Okay, that's a new way of expressing that, but it's probably spot on, as they say.
It's a little rough, but
Right,
that's how a lot of kids think.
It's a horrible reality, but it's a reality, and we need to beware as we grow and want to talk to people like it's 1970, 1980. No, we need to show a little more respect, compassion, and patience as adults.
Yeah.
Some learned patience with these young people. It behooves many of us to use some of it. Or, for adults like I'll pop him first, that still doesn't solve the problem. It only creates the potential for a little mini war among families nowadays.
Yeah.
We talking about violence and interveners dealing with the gang issue. But there's little family feuds around these neighborhoods too, because everybody believes that if you won't act right with them, they'll pop you. Yeah. And now with conceal and carry, it's even further dangerous. Even when you want to respond for the right reason, it could go bad in an instant. Whether it's the police shooting somebody who has all their paperwork, but he's going to shoot you first and maybe kill you before he checked the paperwork, because he sees a gun.
Yeah.
I think that's the danger with black folks having similar rights. They're never respected the same as other groups. So you may end up dead before they check your paperwork and find out you got all your paperwork in order and you one of the quote good guys or good ladies. Yeah. Because you may have been conceal and carry. But the other part is a lot of people that aren't conceal and carry, they will shoot people in an instant out of unchecked and unmanageable emotions.
Yes. Yeah. And that is a very big problem that is running rampant right now. A lot of people that are dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of don't know how to deal with their emotions because their parents didn't know how to deal with their emotions, and they were just winging it. And I want to make sure, like, when I am helping people, I'm figuring out like what they really need or what they're really going through and what can be done to get them to start breaking down those trauma walls they have so they can be a better parent. Because everything I've been through, some stuff I didn't know. I had to learn on my own. Like I didn't prison. I went in there. I got locked up when I was 17. I got tried as an adult. So that was traumatizing to me, but I had to put on the fake mask. Sometimes people put on the fake mask and hide their emotions. And that's another thing that has to stop. You have to talk about your feelings, and everybody says it's soft to talk about your feelings. A man shouldn't talk about their feelings. That's another thing that's a problem in the communities, our communities. Or hide your emotions. But the person that's hiding their emotions, that's the same person that'll be outside at nighttime to do you wrong. Yes. Because they don't got nobody to talk to.
And they didn't learn to express and process the emotions. So now they acting out in the middle of the night. Yeah. They're coming out the bushes with knives, guns, beating you half to death with their fists because they didn't learn how to manage emotions. And now it's male or females doing it to each other. It's not just men.
Yeah.
The portrayal, especially in African American communities, is still unbridled management of emotions by men toward women, but in actuality, it's bad either way now. And the worst part is when either one of the adults use that unbridled emotion and inflict harm on children. That's the sad and sickest part of unmanaged emotions and unresolved behavior problems from years ago. So that mind our own business has created some of the problems. Where the village used to help people find help for a few decades, it started to be I'm gonna mind my own business. And now later we saying these kids are straight out of order. Well, neighbors used to help each other and reach for each other, and they stopped.
Yeah.
They mind their own business. Now they got some new unexpected business.
Yeah.
Some very traumatized, neglected children or mistreated children, and now they mistreating another set of children they having at 16 when they fortunate, or 14 or 13, because they trying to be grown and feel loved because things is rotten at home. And so we have to really do what Michael is suggesting. Let's learn how to help parents and children manage these unresolved behavioral issues that were created years ago, but also help stop the cycle.
Yeah.
The cycle we say in psychological medical terms, and then in church terms for some of y'all that's got, y'all stuck on what God say. I love what God say, but sometimes it's just some human things we have to do for people even to come back to God or go to God. So generational curses, sometimes us good folk help create them because we didn't help people resolve them on a human level before they can grow to a spiritual level. So I'm about the hand up's about saving lives first and changing lives second whenever needed. If we can change the life first and save families, that's what we opt to do. But sometimes we realize, as bad as the drugs are now and have been for quite some time, as bad as the trauma is, sometimes you got to save the life first in order to then get them to change their life. And then they can grow spiritually and or religiously.
Yeah.
That is needed. But sometimes you have to, what youth minister said Sunday, meet them where they're at, not where you think they should be.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get there without help. So they're never going to be where you think they should be if no one's helped them get there. And you're usually the conduit if you accept the spiritual assignment or the practical human assignment to help others. Yeah. You can go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, that's very important, because we sometimes, as parents, they forget they were once kids, so they forget everything they went through, or they're not. What I was saying earlier, they're not telling the kids what's life really about. They might give them a little piece, don't do this, don't do that, but they're not going into details or letting them know what's like, this is what's out here, this is what really is going. A lot of stuff is sugar-coated, or the mask is thrown over it. I want people to be able to tell their kids anything and everything. And I want to be able to give people the tools to give their kids that knowledge, so to make sure they're not holding on to trauma, or they're not thinking in the right way that's going to get them into the right level in life, or get them in a direction that's not going to have them sitting in jail or sitting in prison or in the same circle. I've been saying lately, the world is your classroom, so every day you learn something new. So I want the parents and also the kids to learn something new every day, and be able to sit down and talk to their kids, not as a friend, but as a parent and child, to really understand what they are both going through. So the kids should be able to ask their parents, "Mom, are you okay?" Sometimes I've done that, but I don't see that a lot. Like the back and forth conversation. I mean, oh, you good? Okay, you going through something? Dust yourself off. Keep going. Sometimes tender love is needed. You just can't be hardball all the time, because being hardball all the time is going to create something that's, in the end, you're not going to be able to control.
All right, and I thank you, Michael, for being here with us. You'll be back. You'll be a recurring member. If your schedule permits, you'll be a recurring guest over the next few sessions we do. We plan to be here most of the year if the availability on the schedule is there. Every 13-week cycle. We'll be back hopefully next week or the week after for sure on one of the days. Hopefully Monday. But anyway, a Hand Up Recovery Homes can be reached at WECOOK3289@yahoo.com, or you can call me at 773-213-0802. Me and Michael Parr are working on ways we can help extend more services to young parents as well as their children, helping each and every one of you all with issues you may be having. And I'll try to help the older parents if they not dealing with them younger kids your age, so then I'll have to turn it over to you or get your perspective while I have a similar perspective to their parents. Like, I can't figure them out, and you'll be like, well, Mr. Cook, you might suggest that the parent, the old man, old lady, look at it this way. No, but anyway, that the parent looks at it a little bit different because their younger child may see things a little different from the world's perspective because of other things, triggers, struggles in this current climate that we didn't have to deal with 20, 30 years ago.